Hi there, this is Harry and welcome back to our English lessons where we try to help you to get a better understanding of the English language, to improve your vocabulary, to improve your grammar, introduce you to the use of verbs, phrasal verbs, expressions, idiomatic expressions. And remember, you can always download me on podcast or you can watch me on the YouTube. But remember, if you're looking at the YouTube, make sure you subscribe to that channel. Okay, so what are we going to talk to you about today? Well, today we're going to talk about suggestions, okay? So making suggestions in English. And when we look at this, we're going to look at the type of suggestions that you can make, and then we're going to look at the responses that you might give in relation to positive responses or indeed negative responses. Okay, so when you're talking about suggestions, remember that they are only suggestions. They're not obligatory. You're not forcing somebody to do something. You're not making it a must. So we're not using language like you must or you have to. Okay, so they're suggestions. So often that the language that we use with them is quite indirect. So you might see expressions like I think, or why don't you, or would you consider. Yeah, so you're using indirect type of language, and it's much easier, it's more polite, and it goes very well with the suggestions that you're making, because like all suggestions, people have a choice. They can accept the suggestion, or indeed they can reject it and decide to do what they wanted to do. But after all, it is only a suggestion, a recommendation. Okay, so let's look at those phrases for making suggestions. I'll give them to you again first of all, then we'll go down and look at a few examples. I think you should. Would you be interested in? I thought perhaps you might like. I was thinking it would be a nice change if. How or what about? Let's. Do you fancy? Shall we? We might as well. Okay, now, as I said, in all of these, they are suggestions, they are recommendations, so the language is a little bit more indirect. And a lot of the time, we're using some modal verbs like should and would, and these are classics when we're talking about suggestions and recommendations. Like, I think you should go to the doctor. Yeah, so you're not saying you have to go to the doctor, you must go to the doctor. No, it's I think you should go to the doctor, a suggestion. So I think you should go. So when we use should, it's always followed by the bare format of the verb. It's not followed by ing, and it's not followed ever by the infinitive to. So it's the infinitive without to. I think you should go to the doctor. You're not feeling well. I think you should apologize to the neighbor. We made a lot of noise when we were doing the redecoration, and I think they were getting a little bit frustrated. So I think you should apologize. I think you should probably take a cup of coffee, go into the room, and think about what you wanted to say. Okay, so suggestions and recommendations using should, but not should to. It's always you should go, you should eat, you should visit, you should apologize, you should wait. So it's that infinitive without to. Next, would you be interested in? So they have lots of endings here. Would you be interested in going to the cinema? Would you be interested in going to the movies? Would you be interested in lending me €10? Would you be interested in watching that new series on Netflix? So lots of ways we could suggest or recommend doing something. The important thing here when we use would you be interested in, it's followed by the verb with the ing. So would you be interested in looking at? Would you be interested in going to the cinema? Would you be interested in lending? Would you be interested in buying? Would you be interested in eating sushi tonight? Yeah? So always ing, not the infinitive, ing. And we use that modal verb would at the beginning, would, because you're not sure the person will agree. So it's not will, it's would, because there's a possibility they may, or there's a possibility they may not agree to your particular suggestion. So would you be interested in going to the movies on Saturday. I can get tickets. That's your favorite actor is on. You know how you like him, and we could do with a good night out. I thought perhaps you might like. Okay, I thought perhaps you might like to. And again here we follow it with the infinitive. I thought perhaps you might like to spend the evening at home for a change. You're always going out. I thought perhaps you might like to invite your mother around for lunch on Sunday. She hasn't seen the kids for ages, and it's about time we got her out of the house. I thought perhaps you might like to buy me that necklace that I was looking at and I showed you on the internet. I would really love it, and I think it would go well with this dress. Don't you think? Yeah. I thought perhaps you might like to do something. To do, to go, to buy, to watch. I was thinking it would be a nice change if. I was thinking it would be a nice change if what? If we did this, if we did that. I was thinking it would be a nice change if we went on a holiday abroad this year. I was thinking it would be a nice change if we bought that new sofa we saw in the shop window. I was thinking it would be a nice change if we spent Christmas on our own this year. We're always going to my folks or your folks, and it's about time we had our own traditions. Let's start our own traditions. It'd be good for the kids to have a Christmas around our own table. And sure, if your folks want to come, why not? They're free to come if they wish. But I was thinking it would be a nice change if we decided. And after that, so if we decided, if we went, if we could. Okay, so just different ways in which we can use that phrase when we want to make suggestions. Next, how about or what about? So how about going out on Saturday instead of Friday? What about inviting your parents round for lunch on Sunday? Monday's a bank holiday, so we can have a couple of glasses of wine. We don't have to get up early for work on Monday. What about painting the room yellow? It'd be nice and bright. What about that car you saw? Are you really thinking of buying it? Yeah. So how about, what about, and then again followed by that ing. How about painting? How about buying? How about inviting? How about doing something? ing. How about, what about, ing. Okay, next. It's very short. Just let's think about it. Let's go mad. Let's paint it purple. Let's invite all our friends round for a barbecue. It'd be a great way to kick off the summer. Let's go away for the weekend. Let's just, on the spur of the moment, let's just throw a few things into a bag, drive off and see where the road takes us, and book something when we get there. Yeah, why not? Let's do something spontaneous. Let's go wild. Let's do this. Let's take the children. Whatever it is, it's a suggestion. Let's. Okay? Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's not fight. Yeah? Let's not argue. Let's agree on something. Yeah? Okay, so let's do this. Let's do that. And then a much more informal, do you fancy? And when we say do you fancy, it means would you like to? So do you fancy going to the movies? Do you fancy calling in for a pizza on the way home? Do you fancy a night in by the fire? It's a really cold evening and we could get one of those movies, or indeed see if there's any new series on Netflix. We haven't watched it for ages. Do you fancy doing nothing? Yeah, why don't we just stay at home? Do you fancy? Do you fancy going? Do you fancy doing? Do you fancy meeting? Okay, so what have we got there? Yeah, we've got the ing. Do you fancy going? Do you fancy meeting? Do you fancy doing absolutely nothing? And then a little more polite and very formal. Shall we? Shall we book that restaurant for next week? Shall we take a few days off and go on a holiday? Shall we invite the neighbours in for a drink? They've moved in 6 months ago and we've hardly said hello to them. Shall we do something special for New Year this year? I'm sure there's going to be lots of celebrations now that the pandemic is finally over. So lots of ways and say, shall we? Now, of course, when we use shall, we either use it with we or I. We don't use it with shall you or shall he. It's always shall I? Shall I open the bottle of wine? Shall we? Shall we go away for the weekend? We promised, we said we would. So shall we do it this weekend? And then finally, when you have no choice, or it appears that you have no choice, and you say, well, we might as well, there's nothing else to do, or we might as well go to bed early. I don't think they're going to turn up at this time. So you're sitting in home, you're not sure whether Mike and his girlfriend are going to come round. They said they might, and they, but you know what those couple are like. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So, if they're not there by 9 o'clock, bah, they're not really going to come, so we might as well go to bed. We might as well start dinner. The kids will catch up later on. And if they're late, they can stick it in the microwave. Okay, so we might as well. You can also say we may as well, because may and might are interchangeable. So may, might, we can use both of them equally the same. We might as well, we may as well. And what it really means is we don't have any other choice, or it doesn't look as if we have any choice. So if we've got nothing better, well, we might as well do that. Okay, so they're the phrases that we use when we're making suggestions, okay? So, I think you should. Would you be interested in? I thought perhaps you might like. I was thinking it would be a nice change if. How about, or what about? Let's. Do you fancy? Shall we? Or we might as well. So all the expressions and phrases for making suggestions. So what we want to look at next is how do we respond? So somebody's made a suggestion. So obviously they're expecting some sort of response, and the response can be a positive response, or indeed it could be a negative response. So let's first of all look at those positive responses. So again, I'll give them to you, and then we'll give you an idea as to how you might use them. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Brilliant. Oh, count me in too. Yeah, you're probably right. Sounds perfect. That would be lovely. It's a definite maybe from me. It's a definite maybe. Okay, so positive responses. Now, how will we use them? Well, that sounds like a great idea. Well, I mean, if it's the best idea you've heard, or you can't come up with anything better, well, you might as well go along with it and say, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Why don't we book that restaurant? We'll get there early, and then who knows, after that we might go and see if there's any of the guys or the gang around, and we can have a quick drink before we come home. Yeah, so everything will be perfect. So, yeah, do you want me to book it, or will you book it? That sounds a really great idea. Let's do it. That's not a bad idea. So it's not perfect. It's not perhaps the idea you really were hoping for, but yeah, it's not a bad idea. It's I'll give it a little bit more thought, and yeah, I think that actually could work. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. So you've been looking to find a way of getting over a particular problem. You haven't been able to come up with a suggestion yourself, and then somebody suggests this particular way around it. And then when you think about it, you say, yeah, actually, that's not a bad idea. Yeah, I think you've got something there, or I think you're onto something. Let's develop it a little bit more. Let's get the other guys in and let's see what they think. So yeah, that's not a bad idea. Or if you're absolutely blown away by the idea, wow, brilliant, why didn't I think of that? Brilliant, yeah, that's just what we need. A weekend away, get away from this weather, get away from the city. Yeah, let the kids go and stay with their granny. She'll love it for a couple of days. You and I will spend a couple of days walking on the beach at this time of the year. Yeah, we might get a bit wet, but who cares? Yeah, brilliant, that's a wonderful suggestion. Count me in too, yeah, count me in too. So it's a bit more of a relaxed response. It's very positive. Count me in too means, yeah, you can rely on me. I want to do that. So, you're on your mobile phone having a chat, and the guys are talking about going away for a game of golf or going off to watch a match, and, you just put the phone down. Say, yeah, count me in too. Yeah, I'll go. I'm in. So whatever the guys are doing, you want to do. It's, you don't spend so much time with them these days. So yeah, it's a good opportunity. Count me in too means, yeah, include me in the number, whoever's organizing the event. You're probably right. Now, this is not a wonderfully exciting response, but it depends on what intonation you put into it. But if you're reluctantly agreeing to somebody's suggestion, yeah, you're probably right. I really didn't give it enough consideration. Perhaps I should have thought about it a little bit more before I responded. But you know me, I usually respond quickly. But yeah, I think you're probably right. When she comes home from school, I'll apologize and I'll make it up to her. Everything will be okay. You know the way she is. So yeah, you're probably right. Or something is really good and you really can't see anything wrong with it. Yeah, sounds perfect. Perfect for me. Yeah, that sounds just what we need. Yeah, so yeah, it sounds a perfect way. I'll get the paintbrushes. We can have it painted by lunchtime. And if it needs another coat, I can do another coat of paint late on Saturday or even on Sunday. Yeah, so yeah, that sounds perfect to me. Oh, that would be lovely. Yeah, so a nice suggestion. So why don't I cook lunch on Sunday? I'll invite your parents around. I'll do roast beef and some potatoes and the veg. They always like a bit of that. And, you can either make that apple pie or we can buy one in the bakery. Dad really likes that. I said, oh, yeah, that would be lovely. I wouldn't have to cook. You always cook the meat much better than I do. Yeah, why don't we do it? It sounds lovely. So it's a good idea, a good suggestion, something that everybody will enjoy. And then the last one, it's a definite maybe. What do you mean it's a definite maybe? You can't be definite and maybe. Well, I'm going to go home and I'm going to ask the wife and, she might or she might not agree. I'll bring a bunch of flowers. She'll definitely agree with them. So, yeah, put me down as a definite maybe. A definite maybe. Okay, so they're positive responses that you might make. So how about negative responses? Well, of course, when we talk about negative responses, the most negative way to respond to something is no, a categorical no, I'm not interested, I'm not doing that. But sometimes just a plain, ordinary no can come across as a little bit rude, depending on, of course, how you say it. No or no, yeah? So you might want to say it in a slightly different way, but the objective is the same. You don't want to do it. So here are some suggestions as to how you might be negative in your response. I don't think so. I'm not sure that would be appropriate. No, I'm not sure about that. Well, I don't know. To be honest, it's not my cup of tea. No, not really. Not keen on that idea. No, I'd rather not. I'd really rather not. I'm sorry, I really don't feel like it. So, a lot of it is about the intonation that you can put into it, because when you give the correct type of intonation, people will understand very quickly that the answer is no. But you're doing it in a nice way, a friendly way, a polite way, but you're still letting them know it's not going to happen. I don't think so. I don't think that's going to work. I really don't see that working. I just don't think so. I don't think this market is ready for that yet. I just don't think so. So you're not bowled over by the idea. You're not something that you think is going to make a huge difference to your life, and perhaps it's going to be a lot of trouble and you're going to get nothing out of it. I don't think so. I'm not sure that would be appropriate. Yeah, so somebody suggested that perhaps we get together and go to the bar for a few drinks and then we'll go and have a meal together. He said, well, are you sure? I think it's just a little bit early. I'm not so comfortable, so I'm not so sure that would be appropriate. Why don't we just invite a couple of them around here? Yeah, I'm not so sure it's so appropriate now. Okay, and I think I prefer just a couple of people rather than a big gang. I'm not so sure about that. So again, you're expressing a little bit of negativity. The suggestion, I'm not so sure. And you really mean no. I'm not so sure it'll work. I'm not so sure it's the right time. Yeah, I'm just not so sure that I really understand what it's about. So let me think about it. Let me mull it over. Let me sleep on it. Whatever way you want to try and persuade them that you need a little bit more time to think about it, even though you're probably going to say no. So I'm not sure about that. Well, I don't know. I just don't know. I mean, it's not something I'm comfortable with. It's not something I've done before. What if it goes wrong? Yeah. What if we lose our money? Yeah. I just don't know. To be honest, it's not my cup of tea. So the guys want you to go and play squash, and then they want you to head off and go to a disco or a club. I'm not a club guy. I just don't like it. It's not my scene. It's not my cup of tea. To be honest, game of squash, no, been there, done that. I don't really like it. It's just not my cup of tea. And then a very definitive no, not really. Yeah. What do you think about that? Or do you think it's going to work? No, not really. I think we've tried that before many times, and it didn't work the first time. So I don't know why we believe that it's going to work the second time. So no, not really. I'm not going to support that as a suggestion. Sorry. I'm not keen on that idea. Well, why not? I mean, it's we could do with a holiday, and we said we'd do something different. Yeah, but camping, I mean, you don't like camping. I don't like sleeping on the ground. So how's it going to be fun? I tell you what, why don't we go to that log cabin we looked at, the one up by the lake? That would be a much, much better idea. But no, I'm not keen on that idea of camping. No, thanks. No, I'd rather not. So a little bit more definitive in your negative response. No, I'd rather not do that. In fact, what I'd rather do is nothing. I just fancy a nice, calm, quiet evening at home with the family. No, I'd rather not. Thank you. Or just a general, I'm sorry. Look, I'm sorry. I really don't feel like it. Perhaps another time. Yeah. Let's do it next weekend. It's a long weekend. There's a holiday on the Monday. So yeah, we could even go away for a couple of nights. But this weekend, look, I really just want to rest up. It's been a tiring few weeks since the Christmas holiday. So yeah, I really don't feel like it this weekend. But yeah, next weekend sounds great. Okay, so you to say the suggestion isn't what you want now, but it might be something that you want later on. Okay, so negative responses to suggestions that people have made. So what we've done then, we've looked at ways of making suggestions. And as we said, a lot of the expressions are indirect. And then we've looked at how you respond, both positively and negatively. So why don't you try some of them out, see if they work for you, make sure that you understand them. If you don't, come back to me and we can help and explain them again. As always, I really appreciate it when you join me, so join me again soon.